You are listening to Enjoy It While It Lasts. I'm your host, Herman Faust. Chill with me today and I'll tell you about Easter in my life. If you like the show, be sure to hit follow or subscribe on whatever podcast app you are listening to this on right now. Easter as a holiday has always had a place in my life, even though I have not been a Christian for the majority of my adult life. And even as a child, we didn't even go to church that often on Easter Sunday, even though that's one of the few days you would expect. If you are a Christian, you tend to mark out one of those couple of days on the calendar, and Easter would usually be a day a lot of people go to church. My family still didn't, but it was a thing for us still. One of my earliest Easter memories is getting a baby chick. Honestly, I can't even remember if it was supposed to grow up to be a chicken or a duck, because that baby chick, I don't know exactly what happened to it. I don't have a lot of memories of it, but I know that it didn't live very long. What I do remember though is just the initial excitement of, wow, this is so cute and it's mine. And the story afterwards of how disappointed my mom was because it was given to me by somebody else outside of the household. So it was something that she felt like she got stuck with. That also probably has to do with why I don't have a lot of memories for it, why the bird didn't last very long inside the house. My mom was big on the fantastical, magical beings that surrounded all holidays and losing your tooth for some reason that most people in childhood believe in. So, as part of that, every year I was visited by the Easter Bunny. The way that worked in our household was I would get up and I would have my mom would not hide my Easter basket. I know some families do that. They hide the Easter basket. My Easter basket would be laid out. It'd be a thing you'd walk into the living room similar to Christmas morning. Only instead of it being as huge of a bounty, you'd come out and get surprised by seeing your basket and seeing what all treats you got in there. We also did a thing where we set out carrots and lettuce, the same way you would milk and cookies before Christmas, and it would be partially eaten in the morning, which kind of added to the whole overall confusion and mystery behind the Easter Bunny, because it's like it was eaten. It looked like bites had been taken off of it. It looked like it had been torn up the same way that I would have imagined a actual rabbit or actual rodent to have eaten it. But this is clearly supposed to also be a intelligent being, a creature that maybe, like, can it talk? Can it not talk? I wasn't ever really sure what to make of the Easter Bunny, even as a kid. Didn't quite ever have its mythos, its lore fully explained to me. But anyway, it was always the typical candies and plastic eggs filled with jelly beans or chocolate bunnies. Or my mom was always big on the orange chocolates, the ones that like look like you're eating slices of oranges and they're orange flavored chocolates. That was always a big one for her to put in there for us. But I have very vivid memories of the fake grass and how messy that always is. But it was very pretty to look at and made it a lot more fun for some reason. And then after eating some of my candy and looking at taking inventory of what all treats I had, I would start my Easter egg hunt at home. And the way it was told to me was that the Easter Bunny would hide the eggs that we spent the time to dye. So it was always a big deal for me growing up. I loved taking the time to dye the eggs. Of course, you do the whole pick. I'd have one of each color solid, and then I would play the game of trying to mix and match as best as I could, but sometimes mixing too much and just ended up with a brown egg. I think for me, it was more fun just having the process of dyeing the eggs, as opposed. I never really thought it out and tried to be artistic and plan out what do I really want this egg to look like. I just in the moment be like, what angle do I want to put? How much of this egg do I want to submerge? And then once I did that for 5, 10 minutes, just be like, okay, what do I want to do now? It was very sporadic and spur of the moment decision making in my egg dyeing. No artistic vision, as I said, but I think it was more fun for me to imagine it like I was creating potions and mixing and matching different chemicals. Um, and also, I just like using the tools that came with the little kits to pick up the eggs. I think that part of it was just fun for me. Either way, I tended to dye a lot of eggs right before Easter, and those would be the eggs that would be hidden on Easter morning. And it was always my mom did a good job of trying to make it a challenge for us. It was supposed to be difficult to find all of the eggs. It was supposed to take at least a little bit of time. And even when we didn't always have a whole lot of space, we generally had a lot of clutter. So she ended up having a lot of good hiding spots for the eggs. I always enjoyed the challenge. I always felt like that was the real Easter egg hunt for me. I always had that first one of the morning was like the real test of the day. That was the fun one for me. Even though it was just me by myself for several years until my younger brother Samuel got old enough to where then it was the two of us hunting, and that actually made it a little bit more fun. But there was enough of an age difference to where it felt like unfair if I just took all of the eggs. I don't remember. I feel like we might have had a system of there were some eggs that I was supposed to leave behind for him. And then, of course, at a certain point, once we get to be maybe 7 and 11, where there's still the age gap, but we're both young enough for a couple years. I think we had a couple times of trying to make it a real challenge to each other, like in the backyard or something, or in a bigger space of my grandma's house. But we never had a big family or group of friends Easter egg hunt like where it was a whole bunch of kids doing it. My only experience on that was that I can remember. So I do have a non-memory but early video. I must have been either 2 or 3 of a time where I was on a such hunt with, I guess, a friend of my parents and their kids. And only thing I remember, I don't remember anything of the experience. I just know the video where in the end I feel like it's been a while since I saw the video. I feel like I ended up crying because one of the other kids pushed me down as we're both running towards something. But like I said, I don't actually have any memory of that experience in my brain just from the video. The one I do remember is when my grandmother took me to a big community Easter egg hunt that was being held by a church. And I remember being in the hallway or in a big room, I guess not a hallway, a big hall, a big room where just tables and tables full of people where they've, made their quick announcements, they're welcoming, and then they did it by age brackets. So they had to set up the field. I think they had like a very tiny age group and then like a little kid age group, and I was in the third group. I'm not sure if they ended up having an older teenage or a bigger older. I might have been the last hunt of the day, but I do know I had to wait for a couple, and the way they did it is they had to reset the field a couple times. We ended up waiting. I remember just feeling like I was waiting all day long, and even in hindsight, as an adult looking back at it, we probably did wait over an hour in that little area. It was probably meant to be more of a community making event too. You're supposed to be getting to know people you're there with, but as a kid, it just felt like torture because I'm there waiting to go run out on the field, and I'm excited. I'm pumped up. I'm looking at this like a competition. I already have this competitive mindset of Easter egg hunts from the way we do it at home and from, of course, at school. The school Easter egg hunts were at least a little bit more competitive back in the day. At least that's how we saw it as the kids in the class and the kids in the school. And it was really big amongst the group of boys. But there were a lot of girls that also really took the challenge seriously of wanting to be the ones to find the most eggs, but also be the one to find the hardest one, to be the one to be like, oh, you may have got more than me, but I found this one that was, you'll never believe where it was at. They still had to have a lot of eggs, so there would still be eggs just laying out on the field, but it wouldn't just be an overwhelming amount of eggs on the field, and there would still be a lot of the really good stuff that all was in the hidden spots. You had to really work hard to find any egg that might have money in it or one of the better candies. Um, the ones in the middle of the field would probably just be a hard boiled egg or maybe one that just has a couple of jelly beans and that's it in it. So I was used to the idea of it being an actual hunt, a challenge, which is what made it fun for me. And I was already competitive in other areas. I was generally a competitive kid. I found a lot of fun in competition. So after all that waiting, when it was finally time to get out in the field, I was so disappointed when it was what I think a lot of modern day Easter egg hunts have turned into, where it was literally just a big empty field with hundreds and hundreds of eggs just out in the open. I remember kind of barely participating. Like I went and picked up some. I wanted some candy, and I knew there'd be some candy in there, so I ran and grabbed a handful of eggs just in my immediate vicinity. But I had no real enthusiasm to run around and try to collect as many as I could, and I definitely didn't have fun with the egg hunting part. It was purely a candy farming mission at that point. Even though there weren't a lot of other kids my age in the immediate family that we were close to have egg hunts with me, there were still a lot of people close enough in the family to where Easter was still a big day for us. It was always a huge family meal, and where we'd have a glazed ham and another day to have those Thanksgiving sides. And my mom would always love to go all out trying to cook as much food as she could, no matter how many people were planning on coming over. For a lot of years, though, that tended to work out for her because we'd end up having more guests show up than we had originally anticipated. And in the years where it didn't, well, we would just eat that food for every meal until it was gone. In my teenage years and early 20s, Easter ended up becoming a thing similar to how I described Thanksgiving whenever I talked about that holiday in my life, where it was a very big excuse to have a party day, basically, with our closest friends and even people that were friends of friends. My mom always liked to, like I said, have be host and have people over, and there was always that core group of friends that would be over for any important thing, and there was a rotating group of people to where any one of them could have been there in any year. Easter playing that type of role in my life probably would have changed as my early 20s became my mid 20s, became my late 20s, except for the fact of the way that the family that I married into celebrates Easter. They go hard. I've talked a lot about how close they are as a family and the sense of community that we all have together because of it. And Easter is just another day for us all to get together and reinforce that. So it's going to be a huge party every year, and of course, a huge meal every year. But it's not the same. For me, it's different. It's better. It's not the same equivalent to Thanksgiving meal every year. It's not even going to be the same thing every year. It changes year to year, but there's going to be some type of good food there. And even better for me, unlike other holidays, this is one where I'm not expected to cook at all. I'll contribute a little bit of money towards the food, but I'm not having to actually bring any food myself. So that's a big win for me compared to all of my other current day holiday celebrations where I definitely am in charge of a lot more food responsibilities. So besides the normal holiday stuff where we're all just hanging out with each other for the day and eating and drinking and all just having a good time, it is Easter. So there is going to be a big hunt. And we have lots of kids between us. So it ends up honestly becoming, it ends up becoming a lot less like what I would have described the challenge of my old school ones. It's a lot more closer to the just eggs everywhere on the field because we have so many kids, and it also serves a different purpose, which I'll get to in a second. It's always funny because we have the kids all waiting inside the front of the house while a few of us adults go in the back to start putting eggs. And it's funny because we always start hiding eggs, like we were actually legit hiding. And then we end up getting to the point where we have too many, and it's like, all right, well, now we just got to start throwing them on the ground. And then they do a thing where we kind of let them, we release them all at the same time. We have a kids, one big kids ones, but we let the little kids go out first, and kind of delay the big kids a little bit, get the little kids a head start. And then we reset and we let some of the big kids load it up for the adults to have our egg hunts. And as you can imagine, a group of adults that are, we all love each other, we're all family, and we've all been hanging out together a lot though, and we've all been drinking. And now we're all trying to load up on ammo because at the end of this, there is a big war that's coming. So part of the egg hunt is less a hunt and more of a, like I say, load up on supplies. And so there could be a little bit of pushing and shoving as people try to get more eggs in their basket. Um, then at the end of it, that's when the real purpose of why we have so many eggs come out, because then a war breaks out. It's total chaos. Man, woman, child, you are not safe. Whether it's your first time visiting the family for Easter or you're an elder in the family, everybody's going to get covered with the confetti eggs, and then the flour eggs start coming. By the end of it, we're all just completely doused with flour and confetti in our hairs. Um, Last year they pulled out. They actually had a new addition. They used the leaf blower at the end of it after we all took pictures. We got the leaf blower out to try to get the worst of it off of us before we all had to get into our cars and just get it everywhere. But that's always fun, and it's really cool to see. I remember like there's always, because there's, like I said, there's always so many kids. There's always like one or two kids who are like barely coming into consciousness, barely being toddlers that are getting used to it. That at first they kind of want to cry when somebody hits them on the egg, and they see like, well, literally everybody in my family's doing it and laughing. So is it okay? Is it not okay? And then there's the other kids that get into it like right away and just hit the shit out of you super hard. That's some kids get too, some people get too excited when they're smashing those eggs on your head. They really smash them. Others are nice enough to break it in their hand over your head. But it's really all just how excited you get, you know? I do remember the first year we had our daughter for over for Easter. This was actually in her first Easter with us, was in the brief time period where we only had my youngest, my newborn. Her other two siblings had not been moved to our home yet. We had like a 6 or 8 week period where it was just us and her before they came along as well. And the main thing I remember about that specific holiday is, of course, she was the new baby. So at any time, any family gathering, whoever has the freshest baby is going to be passing their baby out to everybody. But whenever it was time for the eggs to come out, I made sure to recollect my baby because she was my shield. Anybody, you're not gonna get, you don't want to, as much as we even like to initiate the young kids, you're not gonna try to get flour in the face of a newborn. So that was my shield that day, to not get my outfit just completely covered. Then the next year, whenever we went, and she was already one, and of course her brother and sister was with us that time. That was their first year really fully experiencing it. And they had their turn to be that kid that wasn't quite sure if they liked it or not. With our kids, we also had to start trying to be the magic makers in our house. I never tried to sell the Easter Bunny as real, just like I've never sold Santa or any of the other beings as real. But I still tried to make it a very fun, magical day. I will say I do have regrets in hindsight. I do feel guilty about the fact that just because we didn't do the Easter Bunny, also never did Easter baskets, but I should have. I should have easily made it a tradition of they get Easter baskets just without the idea of saying it came from the Easter Bunny, just like the same way we do. It's not like I don't do presents at Christmas because we don't do Santa. So I don't know why I never got it. Probably because the kids don't eat that much candy. But even that's a bad excuse. I could have put other stuff in there. So yeah, that's just bad. That's a parenting fail on me. But that being said, they do like Easter a lot. Not just because of their fun time and their fun party and the big egg war that is the culmination of the day. They really like in the lead up. They're not really big on dyeing eggs. Part of that is also parenting fail. I've not pushed it as hard, but even whenever we have tried, they tend to get bored with it, and they just don't. They never got into it as much as I do. They do, however, like painting eggs. So that's usually what we do now more than dyeing. They like painting eggs, but they also more than that. That's something that they can. It's like an okay activity. It's not something they necessarily love doing. What they like doing is what they like doing with every transition of season is put up the decorations around the house. They really just like changing the decorations out. And part of that includes them drawing all of their own pictures that are going to be added to the walls for the season. So that's the buildup. And then within the house, we have so in the past years, as they were smaller, we always set up and did several different. We gave them several different rounds of Easter egg hunts, but amongst three of them, where we set them up in the backyard. And this one is where I would always try to make it more challenging. I wanted to try to make them work to find the eggs and make it actually feel like a hunt. When they were smaller, we also did a thing where we had three of every colored egg, and you couldn't get two. Like, so if we had three purple eggs, if you find one purple egg, if you see another purple egg, you can't pick that one up, as a way to kind of make it to where they all had a challenge without feeling like they were getting shortchanged because like the age difference between them. Also because they fight enough, and we wanted it to be challenging, but not necessarily a competition at the time. 2 years ago, we started adding the competition aspect, and we they still do have several rounds of Easter egg hunts, but we have like one main hunt in the house where it's like the official Easter egg hunt of the day, where we actually count out and know exactly how many eggs we have. So let's say we have 60 eggs, and this doesn't stop until all 60 eggs get found. And we will then count out who has the most, and we give them we basically give them a financial bonus on who. If you When they were the first year, they're small enough, they were able to get away with like saying first place gets $3, second place gets $1, third place doesn't get any cash. And I think we're going to end up having to be increasing that amount if we want to keep them to care about it as they get older. But for now, they they care about the money, but they really just care about the idea of there's a reason behind it. There's a competition. There's a game behind it. And they are old enough to be able to handle if you did get third place, not just flipping out and throwing your eggs at everybody. I think for them, the fun of the holiday, the magic of the holiday just comes from the having a unique tied to this day activity, combined with the special family event that they go to every year. The idea of it just being something different. Like I've said this before with other holidays that are originally religious holidays that I still celebrate despite not being religious. The holiday is really just a excuse to either have a little bit of extra fun or have a little bit of extra closeness amongst your family. And that's what Easter has been for me throughout my life. It's been a consistent holiday for me. It's had a consistent presence for me, I should say, at every stage of my life, from my early childhood through my current days as a dad. It's just looked a bit different throughout the stages of my life. But the meaning and the aspect of having family and ritual has never really changed at all. This year, we're expanding the day a little bit by having a pre-Easter visit with their other cousin, Becca. So we're going to head out to Waco to see my sister, Trisha, and let them have a day before Easter egg hunt and smash each other up a little bit. Remember, you only got one life to live. You might as well enjoy it while it lasts.